have GHLU, right?
I do. I have GHLU. High level U is great because of the checklist and the fact that it goes in a particular order and the fact that I can white label.
Learning high level has been the best thing that I've ever done my entire life.
The AI in there and the way it's explained, perfect.
Because I know the last time we spoke was at the summit. I don't think we got a clear picture of how you arrived where you arrived. You know what I mean?
Yeah. So I'll give you like a little bit of back end because you got to kind of know the back end, kind of like where I'm at now, when I'm planning on going, right? So growing up, I grew up in a household. I was very poor. So my family and I immigrated here from Portugal. When we came over, we had like no money. We had no money. We sold all the assets we had in Portugal, which at the time, buying anything in Portugal was just at a lower amount. Meaning when we sold for pennies on the dollar when we had to come over, right? So my father came ahead of us. So I didn't meet my father until I was 5 years old. He came ahead and worked for his green card while he was there. If you don't know anything about the process, it involves a lot of legal lawyers, a lot of money to just get a green card. And this is back then. This is not even now. This is way back then, right? And it caused us to basically sell a lot of our things that we had in Portugal. And we had a really good life in Portugal. We had like beautiful house. We had like great family and everything else. And my father up and left because the opportunities were just not as great in the country we're in, which is Portugal at the time. And he decided to move on over. He moved on over. And when I finally got here after being 5 years old, it was like not the same setting. I ended up like going to like the projects in Newark, New Jersey, which in the States, Newark, New Jersey was at the time, 1983, the #1 crime capital of the entire United States. Just to show you, I went from like peace-loving, had a little nice bird sanctuary in the back of my house in Portugal to all of a sudden writing to like gang-infested Newark at the time. Yeah. And what was wild is at a point in time, like just through some really bad decisions and all kinds of things, we ended up living in a car for a little while. And it was wild. And my mom and my dad really worked hard to getting out of it. And then we got out of it. And then my father was always an entrepreneur, always had the entrepreneurial spirit, was a bartender and a waiter, and then just got into all these entrepreneurial deals. But incredible salesman, one of the worst businessmen I've ever met in my life. What was crazy is I watched my family on the ups and downs of being an entrepreneur, you know, money coming in, money going out. Oh my God, we lost everything. Oh my God, we got everything back. And it was just this constant uphill that I said, I will never in a million years be an entrepreneur. And the reason I stated that was because it's like you constantly watch it growing up and you're like, oh my God, like I don't ever want to end up that way and everything else. So I started working for like really early on, man. I think I was like 14 when I got my first job. I was working like full time by the time I was like 16, even though you weren't supposed to. And I was already like, you know, I was a busboy. Then from a busboy, I became a waiter. And I just had those jobs the whole entire time. 17 years old, I left home and it was like, I never looked back. I paid my own way through college. I was working 3 jobs while going to college. So I was working as a bartender at night, waiter in the morning. And then I had a weekend gig of like cleaning floors and working at hospitals, believe it or not, like a janitor. So I literally worked nonstop and I had classes in between. I would fall asleep in classes. I would literally be caught sleeping in closets sometimes just because it's like I literally had no break. I was in and out, and I had a small room in like a college dorm, and I was barely in it because I was either in class or working, and that's how I did it. So that was like 5 years of my life of just doing that craziness. 3 jobs, college, and trying to make it all work, paying everything. And then my dad got sick, and I had to start sending money at home. Because he got cancer and he beat it the first time. And we were, you know, but that was a lot of bills. Anybody going through any kind of treatment like that, it's like hundreds and thousands of dollars. And then fast forward, and we get through that. I'm working like 17 years. It was like, I don't even know how many jobs I was working at one point in time. I swear to God, it had to be like 4 or 5. I'm not exaggerating. And I finally fell into the service niche inside of hospitals where I was doing all the service functions inside of hospitals. I peaked my career there. I kept getting promotion after promotion, bigger hospital, bigger hospital, bigger hospital, bigger promotion, and just kept climbing up the ladders, literally from 0 all the way up the ladders. And then hospitals started getting weird. They started joining and closing down. Like, so smaller hospitals were closing down and being bought up by big hospitals. Yeah. And things are just going crazy. Believe it or not, insurances stopped paying hospitals. At a certain point in time, there was this big insurance hospital war where insurance companies started fighting back on the charges that hospitals were pushing forward because they were charging like $40 for something that cost like 10 cents. And it was like, and there was a lot of craziness between both hospitals and the insurance companies, and that all started getting crazy. And then I said, you know what? And I don't know if you know your history in the US, but I was like, It's 2007. I'm going, you know what? I'm going to go to the most secure thing that I can think of. And I said, let me jump ship. And I was getting recruited by a bunch of different niches, like banking, service-based work, like as far as like getting into like stadiums and all this other crazy stuff. And I said, you know what? I just want to go to something a little bit more serious and very secure. So let me go into banking. In 2007, I want you to remember that date. I don't know if you remember what happened in 2008. The banking crash of the universe. And I was like, this is not happening. So, but I got in and I managed to stay in there for like 14 years. But in those 14-year period, I was a banking, I climbed the ladder pretty quickly in the banking industry also. Ended up becoming a district manager, ran all of commercial for Capital One Bank, the services part of it. And what was really crazy is that at one point in time, my dad got sick again. Unfortunately, my dad didn't make it. But he left us an enormous bill because my mom was an owner in the business and my dad owed some back tax credits. They were garnishing her only paycheck. So my mom was not making any money. So it forced me to start an agency, to just start doing something I can do on the side without interfering with like, not a sub-level job in a bank, a pretty high up level job at the bank that I can do that doesn't have any conflict of interest. So I started building websites, designing web pages, doing all that. I did it for, well, it's 7 years, I don't know, like close to 20 years. And I was building, man, I'll never forget. I was making my salary was quite a bit, and I was making like $400 websites, you know, because I was so afraid to charge. And I was like such a newbie. I was like, oh man, I'm gonna mess this all up. And back then it was hard coding. I don't know if you remember, but it was like HTML. You had to like figure it out. And I always played with it, and I always made a little side cash with that, but never made an agency out of it. Got into that, you know, build that out. Agency early on was always hitting 6 figures part-time because I was working any hours that I wasn't working there. I was working at the agency, at the bank, but it was going back and forth. And I did that for a very, 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 very long time. And then 2022 hit. Everybody started working from home, and then working from home for me, I mean, blasted me into the atmosphere, because then I didn't have to do it. I had a 2-hour commute in and a 2-hour commute back, sometimes 3 hours in and 3 hours back, because I had offices all over New York, Long Island, and New Jersey. So I was all over the place. So sometimes my commute would be monstrous. Well, take away a 3-hour commute to a whole overly hyper guy. What is that?
Yeah. Whoa.
Focus on the business, you know? So I focused on the business, and then I just started really doing well. And then it got to the point where, you know, I have 3 babies at home. I have 3 children. And my wife's just like, are we good? Like, do we really need all this? Like, I think we're good. And I think you've managed your income. So why don't you stop working at the bank and take this thing over and go bananas? And somewhere in between there, that's how GoHighLevel came in, because you got to remember, guy who's doing all this, right? And I picked up Andy, who was one of my partners. That partnership lasted for 3 years. We just ended this year, but again, good partnership, was great. I had a previous partner before that, not so great, but it's still, that kind of helped me like manage my day and evening times where they would work the days because they weren't working. They had a, you know, this was their primary thing, and mine was like more part-time. And we kind of like, it kind of helped build it. We got into GoHighLevel really early on, like I think like 6 years into GoHighLevel. So we started doing all this. And we started building this out. Well, the reason why it was such a good fit for me is, again, I was doing all of these things and I needed more. I needed to do more with less. So because I needed to do more with less, I said, I got to go with a software that can do as much as I possibly can without having to like build a website, active campaign, doing all this kind of crazy stuff, right? So that led to really liking the tool and going in it. And I guess I'm very persistent. I'm not the smartest guy in by far. Like I'm definitely not. I'm not the smartest guy. Look, I met Mario. That guy's smart, man. That guy's building phones out of his pockets. You know, like Mario's a good friend of ours, and he incredibly intelligent, right? Like over the charts. Like same thing with Matt Sino, over the chart intelligence, like in another plane, right? I'm just a persistent guy. I'm just a guy that will keep trying to force, like I said, the round peg into the square hole over and over again. Like this sucker's gonna fit, or I'm gonna figure out how to make it fit. And that becomes like the overall of like how I do anything that I do here. But go ahead.
I'm just saying like that. I relate wholeheartedly to that statement. I'm a dumb mother trucker, dude. Like I don't know shit about anything. But I just keep trying, and I keep, tinkering away at it, and it just gives us guys who work hard persistently, an opportunity to be in rooms with Mario, with Man. It's an honor to do that.
We're the guys that will drag it through, but I'll get through there. And it was so funny. I like, I don't know if it was Matt or somebody else. He's like describing me. Nuno's the type of guy that if there is a room that is completely closed off, Nuno is going to make that door one way or the other. He might go through that door, break the door, but he's going to get through that door. And that's kind of the way, but I think you have to be. And I got to be honest, I think nowadays technology requires that. The technology requires tactical learning, which for anybody out there, like, you know, you're kind of struggling, don't really know what you're doing and all this other stuff. And you're like, I'm not that smart. I can't figure it out. It's not about that. It's about being, how persistent are you? And I think anybody who's persistent enough and consistent enough. Now there's persistency and there's the consistency. And I think that there's two differences. I get up in the morning and I am consistently and the same way I'm always pushing and progressing forward. So I think it's a combination of persistence and consistency that give you a winning combination, because if you're doing the same thing and you're pushing through every day and you're being consistent about what you push through, I think anybody can pretty much do anything. I mean, we taught an 80-year-old grandmother, like, who's never touched technology, how to use HighLevel. Pretty proud of her. She's creating newsletters. She's created a website. She's now offering consulting services on AI. And this is coming from zero about 2 years ago. So that's always my hope. If I can get her to like win and succeed, I know I can do it pretty much everybody. I mean, even my wife is she doesn't like tech, but she's a one woman show where she's running her own aesthetic spa. And she's now got a system that does pretty much everything other than the actual physical work. And it's all in HighLevel. You know what I'm saying? She has an AI bot that's going to help her book her calls. She sells in a store where she sells physical products that she now has in a store. She's taking appointments where she now has a website. She has the website where she can just do her business and get out there in SEO. And now it just makes it easy. And you couldn't do that before. You honestly couldn't. If you really think about it, it's like 5 years ago, man, that would have cost you north of like 20 grand. And you would still not have any of this stuff like you would have now. And that's what I think is wild. You know what I'm saying? So I think it's like, people just got to understand that if you're out there and you're trying to really learn any software, it doesn't necessarily have to be HighLevel. It's any freaking software that's out there right now. If you're not constantly touching the keys and you're not physically breaking it and like trying to figure it out and getting mad at it to where you're about to like throw the whole entire computer in the garbage, you're not going to learn any software at this point, including AI. Because AI, when you get really good at it, will do only so many things well. And then it's like, hey man, but why did you? So ironically enough, the other day, AI's been trained for weeks, been working beautifully. And all of a sudden it's about funnels and it sells like services and products. And all of a sudden it started selling picnic funnels. Where did picnic funnels come from? And we're like looking through anything that has a mention of a picnics, and it got some weird loop. And then it started going back, and somebody had unfortunately, not unfortunate, but just had a lisp, and something sounded like picnic. And then the bot just went off on a tangent. No idea how it even got there. And it's like, we absolutely love offering picnic funnels. We think they're a great addition to any picnic. And we're like, what is going on in here? But again, were we frustrated that it happened? It did. But again, persistency and consistency, got to go in there consistently and check. And you got to be persistent in making sure that the spot works. So it's those things that, again, anybody out there that wants to make any sense of this is that one, if you're out there and you're starting an actual agency and you're just starting out and you don't really know where to go or how to start with one thing and be persistently great at it. Even if you don't know how to do it. I am trying to learn programming. I am horrific. I'm dyslexic officially. I trade letters, which is the worst thing to do. If you're trying to program something, imagine switching letters every like 20 minutes. It's like the most annoyingly hard thing to do because you can't find your own mistakes in doing that. But what am I doing? I'm showing up every day, and what am I doing? I'm trying to code. I'm being overly persistent, and I'm trying to be as consistent as possible in forcing my disability to push through and just get it done. And now with AI, again, makes it a little bit easier. You know what I'm saying? But same thing. I just think that whatever you're trying to learn, if you're not physically doing the thing, you're not going to learn it.
No. And people I've spoken to, I've onboarded, like over the last 2-3 years working for HLPC and Extendly and GHLU now, like probably 1,000 people just trying to use GoHighLevel. And that is probably the most common trait. How consistent and how persistent are you with the software, with acquiring clients, with onboarding, with figuring out the problems with HighLevel? Because when you solve a new problem, there comes the next problem. I've got a client. How do I fulfill them? Or I have 100 clients. How do I fulfill all of them and maintain standards and have reviews? And you know what I mean? Like with
Sure.
each level of entrepreneurship and each level of high level, there acquires a new set of skill sets and problems that need being solved. Why do you think people don't go?
I think it's mostly fear. I think it's mostly fear. So you got to remember, in the world that we live in, status is like one of the biggest motivators for a lot of people. The second I feel like my status is being dropped because I don't know something, I feel like I'm being stupid. I feel like I am stupid. So therefore, I don't want to look stupid. So I'm just not going to do the thing that's going to make me feel that way. And I think that becomes the biggest hesitation, is the fear of looking bad or not knowing what you're doing and looking like you have to ask. You and I do tons of coaching, right? Like I coach for God knows how many freaking people at this. I'm like literally, I think 40 hours a week, if not more, on calls, on coaching calls. Yeah, I'll show you my schedule. It's a nightmare. But how people always start. This is going to be a really stupid question. And I know this is a newbie question. Hey, I'm brand new. And it's so funny. Like, and it's literally there's not one call where I don't have somebody doing that. And I kind of look at them, I'm like, we're all new, don't worry about it. You know, and I have to kind of reassure. It's been going on and you know, it's ironically funny too. This happened in the corporate space too, because I used to train in the corporate space. I was a manager for very big teams. And even in the corporate space, it was the same thing. You get that new person, and the new person with the most talented person you've ever seen in your life, you can immediately see it. And then you're like, you would see the hesitance of like, I'm not going to show up as my full self because I'm afraid I'm going to look bad, because I'm not going to know what to say and do whatever else. But the difference in corporate is they give you that allotment time of training. Oh, it's 3 months training. Oh, it's 2 months training. So you're like in that window, oh, I'm in training. I'm good. I'm good. It gives you like the pass. I almost wish we had that ability in the entrepreneurial space. You're in training mode. It's okay. You got 3 months. Figure it out. You'll be fine. But they don't. They automatically, I just got to know this. How are you like... If it's like when you were born, all of a sudden you didn't know how to ride a bike, like you had to like figure it out. You know what I'm saying? So, but it's the same process. It's like people come in and they're just like, I wish they had that gap. It's so funny. Why can't they have a gap in like the entrepreneurial? I'm in my training stage, okay, guys. But I think because people want to earn the money right away, they want to prove their worth, they want to get out there, they want to build that status quickly. All the head demons come in and like, you know, they're fighting that more than they are fighting anything else. And it's crazy. I mean, it's fun to see them flourish after 2 to 3 months, and then all of a sudden they're like, oh, I get this now. Or they're coming in with like bigger problems, and you're like, hey, this is a much bigger problem than you were having like a day ago when you couldn't even like find how to log in. And they laugh, and I'm like, well, but I wanted to, you know, just remind you of like how far you've come. So it's that craziness of all that. I think people struggle a lot in just giving themselves a little bit of grace, man. And we're all freaking human. It's hard sometimes, man. I wake up some days and there's the imposter syndrome on a daily religious basis. I mean, you're talking to a guy from Comes With Nothing. Every time I step in a room with somebody smarter than me, I'm like, oh man, I don't belong in this room. I was doing that in the corporate space for years. I was the youngest. I was always the youngest person in the room. Always the youngest person in the room. I'll never forget it. And sometimes I was definitely the dumbest person in the room, because I would walk into a room full of people with PhDs, more acronyms and like letters behind their title than anybody else, like than anybody on the planet. And they would like, and I would like, why am I here? And something I'll never forget, there was one room I was in, it was all these VPs and like super high ups. And I asked like, guys, I definitely think, I literally got up and said, I definitely think I'm in the wrong room. And I did. I called it out. I mean, if anything, I was known for my boldness. And I said, my boldness. I walked in and I go, guys, I don't think I'm in the right room here. And then like, and the main guy, and I don't want to name names, but incredibly brilliant human being. Off the charts again, that off the charts intelligence, that like Elon Musk crazy, like kind of level where there's a super genius. And he goes up to me, he's like, that is so ironically funny you say that, because I don't think there's anybody in this room that would understand what we're trying to solve other than you. And I'm like, well, why would you say that? Is that, and I literally joked around, is that because I'm the dumb guy and you guys got to figure out what the dumb guy would think? He's like, quite the opposite. We can't get out of our own heads trying to solve our own problem. We need somebody that has a different perspective than the 40,000 mountain view, that understands what the person is actually feeling, seeing, and doing. So right now you are the most intelligent person in the room because you hold everything that we don't have. And I sat there, I'm like, that was an incredibly different perspective to see that.
Wow.
So I try to tell that to the new person. I'm like, you coming in new just means that you are looking at something that isn't easy right now because somebody hasn't made it easy enough for you to figure it out. So high level, me, I'm not teaching it the right way because you're not figuring it out. You follow what I'm saying? So who's at fault? The person who made it or the person who's trying to figure it out. Now, if it's 100 people and 2 people can't figure it out, it's not a product problem, it's a person problem. And that's okay. It just means you learn different. You know what I'm saying? I have a daughter that has an IDP. She learns different. We just have to put things in a different way. We have to explain things a little bit differently. We have to take a little bit more time because the way she processes stuff does not mean it's the way we're going to process stuff.
What would you say is the easiest way, or let's say the different ways you can learn high level, other than getting your fingers dirty?
It depends on the individual. It really does. Like, so there are tactical learners, there are visual learners, there is auditory learners, and everything else. When we were running the education piece, and like, let's say in the different banks that I worked, and we're really focused on this, we really spent a lot of time trying to figure that out. We would put 2 individuals in the room, and we would give them 2 different learning styles, and one would excel and one wouldn't. And then we would do this with 4 different people, let them try all 4, and believe it or not, maybe 1 out of the 4 would learn differently than the rest would. There was always like the one kind of method that everybody was used to learning, and they would just pick it up because the way we're trained in school, the way our bodies kind of work and everything else. But there was always that one individual that had to learn a little bit differently. But sometimes if we matched the learning ability to the person that was learning, they would excel the others in how fast and how good and how well they learned the subject. And so I got to be honest, like I've seen it kind of work in different ways. You got to do it in a way that is specific to you and the way you learn. Now, I'll tell you the 3 different ways I learn. I definitely learn I'm a tactical learner, again, because of like the disabilities that I have with like learning and dyslexia. It's really hard for me to like read things. I have a hard time reading things because I'm switching letters and numbers, or else I can scan very fast, get the gist of it and kind of get going. But if I have to stand for long periods of time and reading long articles and everything else, it doesn't work for me. You make me listen to something or see something, or more importantly than anything else, touch something, I will learn it forever because of the way that I learn, which is tactical. You might be very different. You might need to see something first, do it then, and it's also the order in which you want to operate in. I can tell you from experience of the multitude of people that I've trained, visual and tactical are the win for high level because there are so many gritty details that while the written is okay, there are more tactical visual learners than, in my opinion, based on my own personal experience, that I believe that there are written kind of auditory visual, like, you know, like kind of like those kind of learners that also have to mix in a little bit of tactical.
Yeah, and with that, like, because you're right, high level is so nitty gritty, detail orientated, and for people who are maybe more strategy, more you know, less detail orientated, but they still want to use the software, how would you go about it? Again,
I think it's a combination of everything. I think what changed the game for me and what made me really popular in the GHL space is I introduced a concept called office hours. Office hours was literally, I was the first one that came up with it. And you know how I came up with it? Banking industry. When we rolled out, we were responsible for rolling out a Salesforce to the whole entire commercial side. I work with teams to get this rolled out to individual people. And they're the ones that kind of had this office hour kind of concept where you'd be working on the software like for the week, and you would have these like ongoing office hours where you can just dial in, hey, I'm stuck. I have no idea how to get past this. Because what we learned is during that launch, a person will be excelling, rocking it, doing everything that they need to do. Oh man, I don't know where the delete key is. Hours on the delete key, days on the delete key. And all of a sudden we're like, what is going on? And Salesforce came back to us after their methodical, crazy, like, I don't know if you ever worked in Salesforce. Salesforce is like the most complex thing I've ever seen in my lifetime. Back end wise, front end wise, you need a programmer just to program like a version of it for yourself. You can't white label, well, you can, but it's a lot of money. It's like, I mean, look, if you're running a massive corporation, Salesforce is crazy good, but that's kind of what it is. So they develop a concept of office hours where the goal being, do not get stuck on the delete key, or don't get stuck on this one thing, because the second it gets you past this one thing, you're on to the next one, your learning continues. People, as of now, oh, I can't get my domain up. Oh, I'll come back to this later. And they're gone. But they're not only gone, they're gone. They're like, I quit, like, because I can't get my domain up, even though it was like one keystroke away or one button click away, I'm good. And they walk away. So, but that's what we did. We noticed that high level had the same issues where things were rocking and people were sort of getting it. Then they would get to this one section. And even though it had nothing to do with their business, they would immediately like, oh, this is crap. Like this can't work, and they're out. So by offering the office hours, I don't give them an out. No, I can solve your problem. You just got to show up for office hours. Now it's not a me thing, it's a you thing. Now it's on you not to show up for something that I'm offering for free with my, well, not free, but like with my software, with my version, with all the people I coach for, where now you have no reason but to get stuck. So now it takes the onus of, well, did you get into office hours? Did you find out what the problem was? Same kind of concept with the 24/7 support, but you know the difference is there's a live human being that can process the individual talking on the other end. And that was the biggest game changer for us, because once we started having office hours for a couple of people I work with and coach with, office hours became like this like thing. And now I'm like in gazillion office hours, this is like where I went the other way. I wanted to like, I can solve your problem within 15 minutes of a conversation or 5 because of my personal experiences and what I've been into. And now that's what makes me so good at high level, is because I've seen so many damn problems across so many niches that it's very rare that I can't solve something real time. So that's kind of the overall like, whoa, you know what I'm saying? All the things that are happening, but that's what it is. Like I came up with one concept, did it well. And I gotta be honest, if all of a sudden, let's just say, this is not the CRM like that happens in like 2027, right? Not that it won't be at the way they're advancing, but let's just say, right? Well, what skill set that I gather while I was learning all this that will forever give me, like, how much software are you tapping into? Project management software inside of high level, right? You got emails, you got text message. I know more about A2P than some of the people like in A2, like in Twilio, like all this stuff, like funnel building, website building, SEO, like ads, conversions API, Zapier, Make, NAN, like, because it was so well-rounded of a software, I'm not walking away with like one little tiny knowledge piece of like, oh, I could just build websites or I could just build funnels. Man, how much can you and I now figure out and do? Because we know workflows, we know contracts, we know like, you know, we know when things have to hit, payments, payment plans, you know what I'm saying? So now there's this knowledge of all the tactical stuff, and how many keyboard strokes have you hit?
Oh, too many.
Right? I know, but think about it, right?
Yeah.
Do you understand the power that you were walking away from, and just understanding like the general like misc of all this? And that's what people, if they stop fighting, oh, I don't want to learn another tech. I get that. I totally get that. But you're learning the tech that's going to help you learn a gazillion other techs.
Exactly. Oh my God. Learning high level has been the best thing that I've ever done in my entire life. That's you know, I call it GHLU because I stopped going to university to learn GoHighLevel on YouTube from people like you. Like, it's surreal how it's not even been 3 years or 2.5 years, how I was in this room, sat down watching your stuff, to now speaking to you and Matt and all these guys. Like, yeah, you know, when yeah.
But that's what it is, man. I'm glad. Like, look, don't get me wrong, man. The most I'm not a crier. I grew up, like I said, in the hood. You couldn't cry in the hood.
Oh yeah.
And there was a moment like in time where, man, I went to my son and I sat with him and I said, and this is right when I was about to quit. I'm getting chills just thinking about it. And I told him, hey, Daddy's about to either do the biggest mistake in his life or the biggest thing in his life. And I'm apologizing early just in case I fail. And my son's looking up at me. He says, no, I mean, he's 10 years old at the time. I'm throwing it heavy at him. But I didn't want it said that I wasn't afraid of something. And I wanted to show him that there was pure and utter fear. Like, and that's probably what did me in, is like, I was so afraid of failing that it overloaded my schedule. Because there's going to be like, I sold before I sold. Like, it was like insane. Like, I was so like, I'm not going to fail. I'm not going to end up bankrupt. And it was like all these crazy things that were going on in my head. And I literally cried at night with my son. Like, man, I'm about to take a leap here and make the biggest decision in my life, and either condemn my family to the life I had before when I was growing up, or take them to another level than I never had. And that's what it is. I mean, I talked to Matt Matt and I had some pretty long, intense conversations, man, about like, man, I had a great support team too. Like, I had all these entrepreneurs that I've befriended with in the last like 20 something odd years, great coaches, great human beings that are so successful at what they do. And I watched them fail, and I watched them rise, and I watched them fail, but it was a different kind of failure than I experienced growing up. Because my dad wouldn't learn. He would do the same thing over and over again. It's like, that's a freaking insanity. That's literally the definition of insanity. And I was like, here, watching Matt, watching the Julies of the world, watching like all these incredible alleys, all these incredible entrepreneurs that I have the pleasure of like working alongside with, man, they were like, they will burn something and be like, oh crap, this is what we went wrong. And then launch all over again and be like, this is what we did right now. Because they would learn hard, but well, and then just be overly cautious in the next one, but still launching at the same time. And it was just being around that presence and understanding. So I have like a ton of backup plans, man. Like what happens if GHL doesn't work out? Again, now I'm walking away with the skill set that I know can be pushed into other things. Am I banking in other software? I am. I am looking at other softwares that maybe not do what GHL does, but go alongside it or work with it and so forth. Why am I getting into coding? Well, remember, here's my theory about it. We learned that GHL is the multitude of all tools. And if we literally can go from this tool to another tool, we'll have so much marketing knowing of like what can work, what cannot, that we'll come in with a new arsenal of understanding, right? Well, if I can understand how programs like this work,
yeah,
at the deepest and most root of it, and just understanding the structure of it, imagine how much more I'll get out of it as I go out. So now that's kind of like the path I'm going to. I don't want to be a program. I just want to understand the structure, because I don't think in like 4 or 5 years you're going to need programmers, but you're going to need to go, hey, I know that if I got to build an app, I need like an environment file. I need like a database. I know I need authentication. I know I need these core things. By the time AI is going to figure all that out, but I can say, hey, I got an idea. I want this, this, and this. We need to build this, and this.
Exactly. Oh my God, to the T. Like, you know what you need for it to look good because you've done the research, you've learned about it. And
so that's why I'm learning it, for the sake of just learning it and understanding how the structure works. Now it's painful. It's horrifically painful right now because I know nothing of it. I've tried learning it a couple times. And again, I have my own. It was harder before. I literally took a Rutgers like coding bootcamp thing. I got completely certified, build a tiny app. Happened like 8 years ago because I was trying to learn that. This was back in with HTML and like you were figuring out CSS and all this other stuff. And it never stuck with me because it was always hard for me to go back to it because I would forget it so fast because it was all letters. It's all like, oh, what's the code for this? And oh, I can look it up, but then I don't know how things go together. So now reviving that and going back at it pretty hard now with the whole AI tools makes it a different. I have AI teaching me code.
Nice.
Hey, I don't know what goes next. And it goes, well, you're missing this, go here. You know what I'm saying? So it's stuff like that while also diving deep into AI. Because I think the next evolution is like AI is going to be doing a lot of the marketing and all this stuff for you. But again, you're still always going to need a conductor. Who's going to be the conductor that's going to be overseeing the AI? It's got to be you. And you can train other people to do that. You know what I'm saying? And learning how to prompt them and work with them and everything else. You know, I can't even tell you how many chat GPT, custom GPTs that we made that have thousands upon thousands of uses right now. So all because I figured out how to prompt, trial and error, kept messing around with it, and then finally got one or a few of them to work so well that they're pretty predictable and they get what I want. You know what I'm saying? So it's just understanding where things are going and just staying a little bit ahead of the curve of saying, well, we know AI is going to hear. And then the other thing, I'll tell you this, and I'll kind of make this my last thing, is we work in the marketing world. And in the marketing world is so loud. We always think that the world is encompassed by everything that's going on in the marketing universe. It is such a funny thing. When I went to Portugal and I went there and I spent a little time there and we were talking about AI, people looked at me like I had 17,000 heads. They're like, what are you talking about? And all I had to do is pull out my phone and start talking to it. And they were like, this exists? Like I was discovering fire for the first time.
Yep.
So because we're seeing is ads of other marketers and YouTubes of other marketers and people in high level and doing all this, we're talking about maybe a 14% population of the universe, of the entire universe. You know, like we're very minuscule, like little tiny level. There is so many people out there that still don't know what half of this stuff is. So is the market saturated? Yeah, for you, because you're encapsulated in this crazy world, or maybe in your niche or whatever it is, because you keep hearing the same people, you know, barking at you at the same exact time. So it's stuff like that, you know, with all the things that we were talking about, be persistent and consistent when you learn, right? Take little things at a time, try to tactically do it. The days of watching a big ass long video, then doing something are way over. You gotta stop, pause, and do. Stop, pause, and do. Stop, pause, and do. You know what I'm saying? Like, because if you could do that, that's where your consistency or persistence is gonna come in. And then once you start getting like one thing, don't be afraid of tackling on another, but master the one thing first before you go on. Like I mastered high level. I think I'm pretty good at it. Like I don't think I need to like take it to another level. I don't. I'm learning APIs, but that's more on the coding side just because I want to learn how to connect other things on my own. And I want to build my own servers and I want to do all that. I want to just figure that out for me because I think there's a business opportunity there. And I think that that's where a lot of this stuff is going to go. So am I now going to spend some time doing that? Absolutely. But again, being persistent in this stuff and just fully understanding that the human being can only learn at the pace that the human being can and will and wants, right? Like I can't force you to learn something that is going to be vital for your business. You have to kind of take the first step. But have I given you the best instruction? And two, am I giving you the support you really need to learn? Again, the office hours, like I mentioned, and everything. And then am I also painting the picture of where this is going to go and how this is going to help you to convince you and get you to learn a little bit faster and easier? So it's the constant plague of a coach and getting people to, it's good for them, but you can't force feed it to them. And you can't be the ones always like saving them when something goes wrong. So your goal being, hey, I showed you this last time. Where did you not remember it? Oh, I haven't done it in 6 months. Fair enough. Let's go over it again and let me give you the resource. That's why the YouTube channel happened because I got tired of saying the same thing over and over.
Same thing.
It's true.
Yeah.
So I was handling the same problem 17 different times. After a while, go here.
Yeah. Watch this.
Do everything you need to do and watch it.
That's why we made GHLU. I spent 3 hours on a call with a lady trying to find her Facebook password. I'm like, all right, I'm done with this shit. Like, let's make a YouTube video. And we started making these videos, and then I was too slow, and Zabs was like, all right, we're gonna use this AI thing. Like, okay. Spoke to Matt. Matt was like, okay, this looks cool. Let's see if we can give it to other people in the world, in the agency world, high level world, and here we are.
Yeah, it's awesome.
Yeah. Just one last thing. Because I know you mentioned are you using GHLU? You have GHLU, right?
I do. I have GHLU. We use it. It's a great counterpart because I don't always like sending people because we do a lot of white label support, right? Like I don't like sending people to anything like that's not labeled right for anybody else, especially my YouTube channel. I mean, it's getting to the point where everybody knows what high level is, so it's easier. But high level U is great because of the checklist and the fact that it goes in a particular order and the fact that I can white label. All the white label variations that I run, with maybe the exception of one, has GHLU. Just because it made it super easy to do that. Because we have HL Pro Tools, because we're a big fan of Matt, and the third-party support's amazing. And just get GHLU with it, because then it just like goes automatically into the accounts, and it makes it super easy because we use it as the third resource. We're like, you can go here for your help, office hours. You can go here for your 24/7 chat support. And we gave you a whole university right here on the left-hand side that you can click that has a checklist. I mean, again, now who's at fault for not learning? You know what I'm saying?
It's theirs. Literally.
Yeah. So now you can't say, well, we don't have enough help. I'm like, show me where. So it's just, it's something. So yeah, we're absolutely big fans. The other day I got nervous because I told you it disappeared for like a hot minute.
Yeah, I know, you texted me. I'm like, Matt?
I'm like, where is it? Where is it? We're sending people there. You know what I'm saying? So it's pretty funny. But yeah, big fan. I think you did a great job. I think the checklist was critical. And I think the AI in there and the way it's explained, perfect. So good job, man. All right. Always a pleasure. We're definitely going to have to get some dinner next time we see each other, man.
Thank you for your time. Bye for now.